There's one more in bathroom. One tap. He has a shotgun. Nice, that's him. Okay, bathroom.
Due Process is a tactical shooter, to be sure. Flashbangs, barbed wire, explosives, a tactical map. All the pieces of an intricate and nuanced asymmetrical shooter are present. Its aesthetics, striking, clear, and elegantly styled after the coin-op light gun arcade cabinets of yesterday. And the game has a killer twist. Its maps are procedurally generated. While the game's visual style is easy to read, and the game isn't bogged down by mechanics, it's worth spending a few minutes acclimating yourself to such a unique title. The game features three main concepts that this video will outline. The first is the game's strategic component, which is directly correlated to the asymmetric design. The second, execution and gameplay mechanics. And the third, its distinct macro game, an economy system that further fuels strategy to ensure that no two matches are the same. In this series, we'll be covering the fundamentals of play, from planning to execution, from the Black Tar to the NAC 11. Meet the attackers, the Argus unit, a TAR in 300 Blackout, an advanced 5.56 carbine, a military-grade pump-action shotgun, and a massive array of grenades. With 150 health points and resistance to flashbangs, the Argus unit is a force to be reckoned with. Defenders beware. With only 100 health points and a crude arsenal, trading in a firefight is generally out of the question. For the criminals, guerrilla tactics and a thorough understanding of their environment will be the keys to victory. Each map is generated with several points of entry. It's up to the attackers to decide how they'll route their path towards the bomb. Green doors can be kicked, red doors need explosives. Blue glass can be walked through, but barred windows are only sightlines. The shutters on storefront can be opened and closed with a button. The loading bay on warehouse can be activated by a switch. If attackers want to successfully breach the enemy defenses, they'll need to be prepared with either a door charge or a wall charge, and an accompanying clacker. If you run out of clackers or charges, your team will be forced to enter through the map's one free location, blue glass or green doors. There are a few special exceptions to these rules, and there are more types of materials, but we'll go into those in a later video. Due Process is asymmetrical. Over the course of a match, each team must play out 3 rounds on either attack or defense before swapping and playing the other. That's 3 rounds on attack, then 3 rounds on defense, for example. That means, even if your attack was well strategized and executed with precision, you'll still need to be versatile and have a sound game plan as a defender to secure a victory. Each individual round is split into 3 phases. The first, a planning phase. Come up with a strategy, check your available gear, create your loadout, and get ready for deployment. Defenders will need to choose their spawn location, place barbed wire, and get in position. Attackers will need to ensure that their team is carrying enough bangs and breaches for whatever strategy they wish to employ. Press the Tab key by default to open and close the tactical map. The M key should work as well. Press the space bar while in the map to swap between SAT and map views. Sometimes, checking if a wall has some decoration on it, or observing the height of some sandbags is easier by swapping modes. You can draw and erase on the map by clicking and right-clicking respectively. You should draw where you're going to place your barbed wire, or where you'll smoke, or where you'll flash. If you're going to bring a long-range weapon, ensure your team knows which angle you'll be holding with it. Don't forget that the clock is ticking and you'll need to equip yourself during this time as well. Grab a weapon and some matching ammo, load it, and then grab 2 more mags or some extra shells or rounds. Ensure that your weapon is racked before you deploy. You can rack your weapon by clicking if the prompt is on your weapon. The second phase, naturally, is execution. The driving asymmetry beyond the team's arsenal is in just how different the 2 factions play. As previously mentioned, attackers have 50 more health points than defenders. The attacker shotgun is slower to pump, but has better range. Their TAR rifle has a crystal clear optic and fires a high caliber round. This next point can't be understated. Attackers are immune to the flash effect of a flashbang. You should strive to use a flashbang for every kill and every corner you push. Attackers are given 15 flashbangs, which amounts to exactly 1 flashbang for every defender across 3 rounds. Defenders are not offered as versatile an arsenal, but they do have the element of surprise. Defenders will need to make rotations, relocate, and anticipate pushes and flanks. Jumping out from behind a corner, or whittling down the attacker health with molotovs and potshots, are the more practical approaches than head-on engagements, generally speaking. Do not try to take a 1v1 with an Argus trooper who is ready to retaliate. Each round is played with a straightforward goal in mind, either attack or defend the bomb site. If the attack was successful and the bomb was defused, or if the defenders were victorious by wiping out the enemy team, the game enters phase 3. 20 seconds is all you have to scavenge for loot. Did an ally bring a powerful weapon you wish to recover for next round? Did someone have an extra mag for your weapon? As an attacker, you'll certainly want to recover the clacker if a fallen comrade held one, as they're quite limited. If the attackers wish to, after wiping out the defenders, they may stall the bomb defusal. The bomb saves any defusal progress you engage. You may wish to leave the bomb at 90% and spend some time looking for loot before finishing the round. What really separates Due Process from other titles, aside from its gorgeous art, is its brilliant macro game. Each resource you obtain from the weapon wall and consume or lose is removed from play for the remaining rounds until the teams switch sides, at which point all resources are restocked. This relatively small feature creates incredible levels of nuance. For example, the attacker's arsenal contains 2 clackers, 2 door charges, and 1 wall breach. A quick glance will inform you that if your team wishes to eventually make use out of all 3 breaches, you'll either need to save the clacker after using it once, or use both a door and a wall charge on 1 round. If the attackers win a round and a clacker was used, it can be recovered from a corpse, or kept on person and used again in the next round. If the clacker was lost on the first round, it may be wise to use the second clacker and all remaining charges on a later round, but by no means is this a rule. It would be against the core principles of the game to suggest any one particular strategy should reign supreme. Get creative. Try baiting the enemy into a false sense of security. Use the first round to gauge their playstyles, then throw them a curveball.
That was toxic.
The same dilemma of a limited toolset is present on the defender side. 6 barbed wires, 3 flares, 4 Molotov cocktails. Carefully planning who will carry them and when you'll use them is essential. With 3 rounds to use them all, your first inclination might be to try and split them across the rounds as evenly as possible. But sometimes a 3rd barbed wire can completely halt a push. Other times, all it takes to deny the attackers a victory is a well-placed flare and a choke point. Speaking of flares, while they're primarily useful in choke points, they actually counter night vision goggles when the power's been flipped by an attacker. Flares may even be picked up after igniting, allowing you to walk around as a human flare. Those with NVGs on will have a hard time finding your silhouette. In some cases, flares, used in tandem with the breaker, can be extraordinarily powerful in creative setups made by the defending team. As you can see here, the attackers are likely to push Skylight. Placing 2 barbed wires on the floor under Skylight and positioning Allegros to pincer them would be good enough. The icing on the cake is denying them any vision by using 1 flare on the drop and flipping the breaker. This strategy has worked against even the most experienced players. While the attackers may want to bring NVGs and flip the power on 1 round, a defender might anticipate that they won't bring them on another. Map mechanics like the power are only present on certain tile sets. Currently, 3 tile sets are available: Warehouse, Convenience Store, and Killhouse. Killhouse does not have a breaker for power. It's a daytime map. Warehouse can have a loading bay and a fan, both of which may be breached. Convenience Store has player-controlled shutters from inside a bulletproof cage. Each map is procedurally generated within the constraints of these archetypes. Once you get a feel for the general flow of each map type, you're going to start understanding that some weapons feel more viable on certain archetypes and weaker on others. The average range of engagement might be quite long on Warehouse, but claustrophobic on Store. This principle of a constantly changing range of engagement is paralleled and complemented by a unique game mechanic called Brace. New players may at first be confused by this mode of control. Let's take a better look. In traditional tactical games, there may be a zoom function or aim down sight feature, in addition to what is colloquially known as hipfire. In Due Process, Brace fulfills an intermediate role, halfway between aiming and hipfiring. When braced, both your movement speed and accuracy are somewhere between hipfiring and aiming. With several weapons, you'll also engage your firearm's laser. This makes Brace the go-to for room clearing when speed is more important than accuracy. You might brace your firearm when an enemy is sure to push you, but you desire extra screen real estate. Or when taking too long to get through a barbed wire or a doorway could be a lethal mistake. Brace is phenomenal on shotguns, but might be harder to use on fast-firing SMGs, where headshots and spray control are important. Brace mode can be activated in numerous ways depending on your control scheme. Either dedicate a button to it, or use one of the control options to enable your aim button to engage it. Hopefully this video gave you some new ideas to sprinkle into your gameplay, or taught you a couple things if you were brand new. Let's wrap up with a rapid-fire barrage of all the essentials. Argus is immune to flashbangs. Push with your flash. Flash every room. Red doors need explosives. Explosives destroy barbed wire. Barbed wire affects both teams. Grenades can't open red doors. Grenades can destroy barbed wire. Use your microphone. Call your grenades. Shotguns open doors with visible locks. Be careful kicking doors. Strategize with your team. Don't spend all your resources on the first round. Do spend all remaining resources on the last round. Don't give NVGs to the defender. Save the clacker. The mob does 135 damage on a body shot. Don't give it to the attackers. Take guns appropriate to the range of the map. Make crossfires with your allies. Take a barbed wire after you tell your team where you'll place it. Draw on the map. Draw everything. Use your microphone. A UAV will kill defenders if they go outside. Bullet penetration makes a noise. Fish for wall bangs. Have fun and cooperate. Please remember, due process is in ongoing development. Game content is subject to change and may not be final. Numbers on screen, tileset rules, and even weapons or gadgets may differ in later versions. Tune into the next episode where we'll go into detail on the game's maps, doors, walls, and everything to do with tile sets. See you then.